I primarily teach three-dimensional arts of 3D design and sculpture, and I also teach a new media class and teach some drawing classes. I was raised on the farm in Harlan, Iowa, and grew up making things and enjoying working with my hands. When I went to college, I was thinking about either becoming an artist, or I was also interested in athletics. And my undergraduate degree is in exercise science from Creighton University. And then I was thinking I wanted to be a physical therapist, but then I worked in that for a while and found out that wasn't for me. So I went to UNO and got a master's degree in health education. And through that process, when I got through that program, I started teaching at UNO, and I enjoyed the teaching. I didn't enjoy teaching the subject matter that much. So I decided, I'd been making art this whole time, and I decided that I would like to go on and teach art in college and be an artist. So from there I went and earned an MFA in sculpture from the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. And after I graduated with that degree, I started working here. With art, there aren't a lot of teaching jobs for the number of artists that would like to have these teaching jobs, so it's pretty competitive. But when I graduated, the job for the sculpture position here was open, and I applied and got the position. I wasn't necessarily wanting to go out and apply for every job, but this one happened to be here, and I happened to get it, and I've enjoyed being here since then. When I was getting my master's degree in health education, there's a professor at UNO named David Corbin, and he was a big influence on me. He was sort of working in a different field than I would end up in, but he was really dedicated to what he did, and he really lived the life that reflected his values in health education. And health education is a broad field that involves all areas of life and health. So I think he's probably been maybe my biggest role model in academic life, for sure. We've got the dragon behind us here. The student that made that piece, his name is Scott Tripp. He's been a student of mine in various classes, and I think we've come to have a good relationship, and even though he's not my student now, I still am in contact with him, and you know, try and help him out with where I can. I think he's, you know, his artistic interests are different than mine, but he's still got, you know, strong interests. And I think I'm an artist before I'm an educator, and I'm very interested in that, and I'm very engaged with that activity, and I spend, you know, most of my waking time dealing with that and working with that. And I think that coming in with the teaching, you know, it's an extension of that. And I think, you know, my experience with the students also flows back into my, you know, informs my art practice in the studio. I think my best teaching experiences are when the student finds their personal interests, finds a way to bring their personal interest to the subject matter, and I'm always making that a part of everything I do. Is you know, as artists, that individual artist and their individual interests and likes and dislikes and is what comes out in the art and what makes it valuable, and that's what makes this activity of making art interesting and valuable, is that each artist brings themselves to the art making and puts themselves into that. And I think when a student does that, then my work is easy. Then it's just me kind of helping them make it, because they've got that real motivation to make it happen. And I think that's a beautiful thing, regardless of whether the piece of art they're working on fails or is a big success. I think they work really hard and learn a lot when they really put themselves into the work that they're doing. And my most recent interests are 3D scanning and printing and digital fabrication technologies. And I view these advancing technologies just like any other technology. At some point, somebody invented a hammer, And I'm sure before a hammer, people were pounding on things, but once someone invented a hammer, there was a better way, and that becomes adopted. I think the fundamental activity of making art remains the same. You know, people are expressing their ideas through visual objects. The tools just change. So I just view it as a tool, and these tools are great. We have resources. We can find artists all over the world working the way we want. We can research the way we make things very quickly. So I think the technology has just made it easier for people to make art in general. The thing I would want my students to remember is that, you know, their viewpoint and their interests and their values are important, and that's what's going to make what they do valuable. You know, I don't care what field you're in, you know, where you come from, we're all unique individuals and we're bringing different things to what we do. And I think valuing that is what I'd like my students to remember. Yeah, I just want them to say that I would hope that the opportunities or the environment that was set up for them, you know, allowed them to learn things about themselves and about art making, and it's not about me being some expert. It's about me sort of allowing people to be the most that they can be. You know, that's what I'm trying to do. What's next for me is I've got some, you know, lots of ideas to work with in the studio. I'm hoping to do more public art, more work that's out in the public, and I'm also hoping, you know, to continue with the gallery work and then have that, you know, that work I do out in the art world, you know, flow back into my teaching here at Metro. My greatest challenge, you know, as an artist and educator is really time. You know, really, I sort of think of myself as maybe having 3 or 4 jobs, and each of these jobs could take, you know, 40 hours a week. And if you do the math, that's too many hours to fill in a week. Juggling my time requirements in academics and art making and music and family and business I think is the biggest challenge for me. And sometimes, you know, I don't have very many hours to sleep, but, you know, I'm constantly, you know, as I move forward, trying to find ways to be successful in all my endeavors and still get to bed at night. There's a quote from Gandhi that basically says that, you know, it's a person's will to do something that allows anything to happen. So if a person decides they want to do something and you stick with that idea, it's a basic idea, you know, anything can happen. Of course, he is more poetic in the actual quote, but I think hard work and dedication to what you want to do will make things happen. It's not some innate talent. It's not being smart or whatever. It's deciding you want to do something and then putting yourself into it that makes great things happen. Metro is a great place for me to teach because of just the students, the diversity of students. We have an open enrollment policy, and I could have anyone in my classes, and I think that's a wonderful experience for me and the students to get to know a wide variety of people and have these diverse interests and values sort of commingled. Can make a great classroom environment. And so I think that's one of the best things about teaching here at Metro. I'm Jamie Burmeister. I'm an art instructor here at Metro Community College.